Okay, this is the Sci-Fi Comic Nexus. I'm Zach Weber, Sci-Fi Comic Artist. I'm here with Pam Harrison, Chief Editor of ICC Magazine and the creator of Sci-Fi Comic A Deviant Mind. Now, Pam, on the website, it says that A Deviant Mind was 30 years in the making. It's a very long time to be making a comic. Can you tell us a little bit about why it took so long and what was involved?
Well, I actually began doing the web comic for A Deviant Mind in 2010. So as of now, it has been 42 years since I first created that comic. I was back in high school. I was 16 years old, and we were doodling in class, and we were the Big Bang Theory class at that point, whatever, nerds and comic artists and music and so on. And I was doodling the first beginnings of a science fiction series.
Great.
At first, I had decided to call it Galaxy Guardians, but then at my local comic store, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought, oh, man. So, but it went through a lot of sketches over the years and a lot of incarnations. And after having done House of the Muses, I decided, I went into 3D creation of a comic series.
Okay, so it eventually ran to 45 issues.
Actually, I'm not finished with it. I went into a kind of a hiatus at 45.
Okay.
Between COVID and long haul COVID and brain fog and a lot of other different things, I'd gotten, the last couple of years have been rough on a lot of people. So I've been trying to finish up issue 45 and decide what direction I want to take the series in. And I have a 64-page retro style issue for 45, kind of celebrating that 40 years at the point.
Yeah.
In 2020, it was 40 years. But I'm going to get back to Deviant Mind next year because it's far from over.
Right. In all that time, how much has it changed from what you originally conceived it as over the years?
It changed a lot. Back in the 80s, I had the standard, the princess and the little space pirate. He was Captain Space and the Princess Benai. And I did a lot of story on that up until, which I followed through in Deviant Mind, where it says freedom to be. I can't remember which issue that was, but that recreated that beginning story, that origin story from 1980, where as the series has progressed, it's kind of like a second generation story. The main characters now are the children of the 80s series characters. And Najmi is the daughter of Princess Benai, who became Queen Benai, and now it progresses on. Now it's Queen Najmi and her sister Banara.
It's an epic saga.
It's an epic saga. It's taken my whole life. But yeah, as I go, in this big retro style 45th issue, the story's far from over. I've got a lot left to do on it. So that gives me hope to get back on that in 2023.
Great stuff. I mean, it is a long time for you to be working on it. How much do you think it shows that you have changed as well? How is that reflected in how much the creator has changed is reflected in the creation?
It has changed a lot. When I began it in 1980, I was 16, young, naive. It was all fun and games and so forth. And, as time goes on, you get real life issues and culture and so forth. And you get to create stories that you never were able to when you were younger because you get a different perspective. And I've had a lot of fun with that. I've gotten much better in my technique as I go as well. So
we're always improving. Yeah. Hopefully.
I try.
Okay. The influences in your work are quite easy to spot.
And what influences would those be? What do you spot?
I think it's safe to say that you're a fan of Star Trek, Star Wars, some of the little shall we say, little homages here and there.
Right.
So what do you think makes space opera such a compelling medium for storytelling? What's so magical about it?
Space opera itself is kind of like a dual. The opera part, where you're getting to develop characters and interactions with characters. Characters start out, like I said, Najmi was an obnoxious little creature when her debut in A Deviant Mind 7, and now she's grown to quite a character in her own right. And a lot of the characters have grown. The interactions are fun. When Chani LaShawn goes to her home world and deals with some of the rednecks there, and that's a fun interaction too. That's kind of like that's a fun look back home. But and the space part, anything goes. You have the ability to imagine the future as it could be.
Yeah.
And so that was the dream of Star Trek to begin with. A future inclusive of everybody. That's what makes it compelling.
Yeah. We haven't actually talked about what the premise of Deviant Mind is for anyone that hasn't actually read it. You've got this character Tara, who appears mysteriously at a medical base and Alpha Centauri system with no memory of who she is, where she's come from, or what she's done in the past. And at the beginning of the story, to begin with at least, it turns out that she may not be an innocent. She may have done some terrible things. And then this kind of raises the moral question. If you have no memory of the past, are you guilty for the things you've done, or are you an innocent?
Yeah, I've explored that in the episodes Confederation Dreams and issue 39 Paranoia, where we get these glimpses of her past and what could have been, and she's still trying to explore that too, but you get some different glimpses into the backstory that make you think, But and then there's that episode in Out of Limbo where she holds the gun to her brother's face and says, despite having amnesia, I do recall that I have killed before. And she pulls the trigger, but it's an hallucination because he's also a telepath, and that's when she is finally able to break free of him. And that's where she gets doubts as to what she's been told all along.
And it's interesting for the reader because they never quite know whether your hero is an anti-hero.
She can be an anti-hero.
Yeah. A bit of both, maybe. Complex.
She's got a great sense of honor as well. So.
Yeah. One of the central themes, I think anyway, in the story is the theme of identity, particularly self-discovery. So your protagonist, Tara, she has amnesia. She's a stranger to everyone, including herself. As she starts to learn about herself, she develops feelings for her female doctor. So what you have here is quite a neat analogy of the process of coming out. Do you think science fiction is a genre that's more open to the inclusion of gay characters?
Yes. Like I said, that was the original dream of Star Trek, a future with an inclusion for everyone. Number two, I do believe the tagline for A Deviant Mind is, how do you find yourself when you don't know who you really are? And that's a profound little question when you think about it. Are you who you want to be or who you think you are?
Yeah.
Or who everyone wants you to be?
Very, very philosophical.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. When you are when other people have assumptions about you and they don't actually match how you see yourself, your own experiences.
That is correct.
Etc. So there's a lot of parallels there. So you mentioned the House of the Muses. That was a project you had before A Deviant Mind. Yes. Based on it's a graphic novelization of the life of the legendary poet Sappho of Lesbos. And I understand you won some awards for that as well?
I did. Back in 2008. I had begun the series. I was writing it in prose back in 1987. I was at Western Kentucky University, and I was studying different things, and I'd gotten into studying classical Greek. And I found, some poems, and I thought, well, this is nice. And I got to translating and looking and reading, and I thought, wow, this would be a cool story. And the more I dug, the more interesting the story became. So 2006 is when I learned how to do DAZ 3D. That was my pivotal year. So, I had, gone around getting some props and some costumes and some characters and putting it all together and trying to think how I was doing it. And then I took what I had written and started to create it in, graphic novel format. And 2008, I had been nominated because I had realized that it was being read worldwide. I was getting kudos from the Netherlands, from Brazil, from Japan, France, England, Germany, Spain, as well as the U.S. And so that I was nominated in 2008 for the Prism Comics Core Press Grant Award. And they assisted me. I won that year, and they backed. I bought ISBNs for my book, and that helped me publish and so forth. And that gave me a big boost. And I finally finished the series in 2019. And it was wonderful. It was my magnum opus. I had been working on that one for a while too, and it was such a heartfelt story. At first, I had put a mature audiences label on it, but everyone was saying this isn't mature audiences. The gay teens can read this. I said, okay, all right. I was trying to be grim, but it came out. It's still a very dramatic series, and it was very well loved by so many people, and the ending is quite dramatic too. And but it was, I put a lot of love into that series.
It's quite unique to have a graphic novel based on Greek poets. I don't think there's many of those around.
I'm not typical. I've got. I think
you cornered the market there. I think you.
I was also one of the first actual CGI comic artists. At the time I got started putting my comic pages together, everyone else was simply doing porn. And
okay.
So I got to work, and I got an award. So I think I did all right.
I think you did. That brings me on to my next question. We're talking about the 3D software that you use to create the characters.
Yes.
That's quite a topical thing now, because we have this current uproar about AI art all over social media. Where do you think we should draw the line using technology in the creative process?
Well, I'll tell you the difference between CGI and AI created art. With CGI, when you're working in 3D, you taking props, you're taking figures, little characters. You have to inject into those characters to give them facial expressions. You give them bodily shape. You give them this, and then you put the clothes on them. You've got lighting. You've got cameras. You've got other props. You create landscapes, and you put a sky over there, and you put a prop city and you render it, but you have done all that work yourself. In AI, you steal someone else's artwork, inject it into your own, and take credit for it. That is the difference. How much when you steal someone else's artwork and take credit for it, there's the moral.
Especially if you're not a human being.
That's true.
Hurts even more, I think.
Yeah, I put all that work into my creations all by myself. If you've looked at any of my backgrounds, I've created my own costumes. I've created my own lighting.
It all comes from you in the end. It's still your creation.
Yeah, I didn't steal it from anyone else, or I bought it on renderosity.com.
Yeah.
So.
And you've credited those people when you've.
Correct. Yeah. When Agnes enters the scene, she was Samuel Art. That was the creator of the character design for Agnes. So.
Okay. You're also the chief editor of ICC magazine, the Independent Creators Connection. So tell us a bit about that.
It's a bit of cat herding is what it is. I have a very talented creative staff. It was Independent Creators Connection was founded in 2013 by Terrence Baker. It was his goal to spotlight other independent comic artists of any genre and any and all genres, and do interviews with them, show people what they do, and promote their work. And in 2018, we created ICC magazine, and we started with some interviews with that, and it's come along quite well. then the pandemic hit, and it is paper shortage, and there's been a bit of a backlog. But we're still turning out a very nice magazine. I'm offering it also in digital for the time being, so that everyone can afford it. And we've got some more artist spotlight interviews lined up for 2013, so we're hoping to get those all out and about shortly.
It's great to have something that lifts up independent new people, new talent.
Right. When you think you're all alone, it's good to know that someone's out there promoting you.
Yeah. So, Pam, what do you have lined up for 2023 in your creative prospects?
I've got a big writing project that I'm working on with a friend of mine. I forgot what his pen name is, but we're working on something called The Undesirables. It's a dystopian future kind of thing set in 2035 with where all the politics on this current world go awry and we get a worst case scenario. And the characters are bent on trying to get the world back to a reasonable facsimile thereof.
Okay.
And religious persecution and all kinds of goodies. So it's going to be three book series. Maybe we're going to publish it at tor.com or something like that. We're not sure yet, but it'll be three books paperback over the next year.
Great. I look forward to seeing that. Okay, I'm going to put some links on here for all the links you need for Pam's website and ICC at the bottom of the screen. Pam, thank you very much for talking to us this evening.
Thank you very much for having me. This has been wonderful.
It's been wonderful to finally talk to you. We've been chatting for a while.
We've been chatting for some time.
But this is the first time we've actually FaceTimed, me and Pam. So, Pam, lovely to speak to you. And I'll be in touch, and I hope you have a lovely new year.
Oh, lovely new year to you too, Zach. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.